ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another interview right here on Bell to Bells. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, of course, and joining me today is one of the all-time greats, a true to form legend of women's wrestling and wrestling in general, let's be honest. I'm thrilled today to be chatting with Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's my honor and my pleasure to do this for you guys. I'm really excited for what's in store today. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's jump right in. Yeah, we're celebrating women's wrestling, right? So that's the whole point. We're using we're piggybacking off of the release of the PWI Women's 150 to get the conversation going and just celebrate. And you yourself had a pretty big celebration. 20 years of wrestling. Started off training with ACW alumni Jason Knight, right? 2 decades ago, and that's quite the person to start training with. And then you even moved on over, started wrestling with Off of the Wild Samoans, WXW, right? Where he even recalls telling you, she scares me. She works like a Samoan, right? How much, like, knowing how you wrestle today, you're very, in your presentation, how formative were these years with Jason Knight and AFA's organization as well? How informative were they into making you who you are today?
They were the backbone of pretty much my style that I've carried for the last 20 years, going on 21 this year. Just a side note, we're about to hit 21 years now.
Woo.
But yeah, I know. But yeah, they were pretty much the foundation and the backbone of my style of wrestling. At that time when I started with Jason Knight, it was mostly when I wrestled the male wrestlers. I was more of a high flyer, doing all, not very flippy, but very high style,
Right.
the lucha style, only because, at that time, that's what females were supposed to do.
Right.
But my style was so different, I didn't want to do that. And I ended up getting injured. And so we changed the format of my wrestling when I was with Jason.
Oh, okay. So it was an injury that led you to becoming, let's just call it, being a badass, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, pretty much being a badass. Yeah, I got my first injury in pro wrestling was I did some type of a crossbody of some sort from the inside of the ring to the outside, and I ended up hitting my knee right onto the wooden floor as there was no mats,
Ooh.
and pretty much it took me out about 6, 7 months with torn ligaments. So after that, it was pretty much I didn't want to do anything really risky and high flying, and I just let my trainer know that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to change my persona because I was very shy. I was very inward,
Really?
just starting out. So I had to get a different persona out. And we just started trying to figure out some new things. And it ended up just going to a very strong style mentality where no females were doing that type of style. And
Sure.
he brought in Jazz, who kind of just helped mold me to that direction because Jazz is a badass,
Yes.
you know? Yes,
Yes.
very badass. And she was with Jason at that time as well,
Really?
if
Okay.
anyone remembers. Yeah, if anyone remembers watching ECW, I believe Jazz was the first, Jason was her first opponent going into ECW, and he helped her out. So it was almost like, okay, well, I can be just like Jazz in the independents and make my name with this style. And she helped me a lot early, really, really early in my career before I went to the Samoans. So that's kind of where the backbone and the foundation started arising, where I can be this strong style powerhouse, uh, wrestler, and I can do that with the male or the females. It didn't really matter, and
Yeah.
not stick to the generic form of female wrestling, I guess you can put it, where it was always just, the high flying stuff and being pretty. I just wanted to be known as a wrestler,
Sure.
whether I wrestled male or females. And that's pretty much where it started at Jason's. And then I moved on, obviously, to Alpha, who,
That must
who
have been
taught
that
me
must
how
have
to
been
do.
something.
Oh yeah, you know what? It was and it was by accident, to be honest.
Okay.
He did a show in Danbury, Connecticut, I believe, and it was for his first ever Elite Eight. and that's where Tracy Brooks was there, Gail Kim was there, but I don't remember what
Oh.
her name was at that time. And I just kind of walked in, and they invited me, and they were like, you have to do a quick tryout before you can be part of this tournament. And I was like, okay, well, here I go. And I did a tryout and gave a spine buster to, one of their guys named Sugar, and just did this match. And then, did some other things. And eventually I got into the tournament to the finals. And I was like, okay, this is one of the first times they've seen me ever wrestle or even knew anything about me. But I'm a
Mm-hmm.
local girl, I was
Right.
probably half hour away. So they needed a girl, and that was it. And that was my first introduction to Alpha and Alpha Junior. And I was like, man, this is a company I really want to go to. I really want to learn from them. And then, we didn't really split ways or anything. I just kind of did my own thing. And when Jason's night school ended is when I really went to Alpha and really wanted his direction and being mentored with his experience and everything that he can give me. And
Sure.
from there, I pretty much stayed with, the Samoans pretty much up until now. And still now I still, speak to him and we check up on each other. And, he's more family than a trainer. And there's a reason why we call Alpha Pops, because he really is there for you, not just in the business aspect of wrestling, but whatever's going on in your life, he wants to help you in any aspect. You're considered family. And so he helped me a lot with character development. He helped me a lot get bookings, and if I had any issues, the business side of wrestling is what people don't understand, or locker room etiquette and stuff. And that's where Alpha taught me a lot. And he just told me always to be true to myself, that if I didn't feel correct or right or in my morals of doing wrestling, if something feels wrong, don't do it. Be true to yourself and, stick to your guns and stick to who you want to be and where you want to portray and where your legacy is made. And I stuck to that my whole career, whether it got me on TV or not. I stayed true to my guns, and Alpha helped me with that.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I think there is a lot of that does translate very well into your career and where you're at right now. That's really interesting. Did WXW, did it have like a women's division at the time? Was he working with many with multiple women?
No, at that time he had a very small division. I think his Elite Eight, which was his first Elite Eight, was something new for him.
Okay.
Back in 2002. It came back around about 2004, and that's when I was working with him on a regular basis.
Gotcha.
And then he had his women's division, and it was built around a lot of the tri-state area females, like Cindy Rogers, Amy Lee, Missy Sampson, Alir Littlefeather, Talia Madison, which is now known as Velvet Sky, myself included, and then any of his students that were always part in, and if any, names like Beth Phoenix or Nettie, whoever was in the area will work for him as the years went around. But his women's division was still new when I started with him. It wasn't as big. And he didn't do a lot of just female matches. He would do one match. Everyone, it's that whole concept of one female's match per show.
Like an attraction, right?
Yeah, and that was the mentality back then. But he always wanted us to make sure that it was athletic, and he didn't want to make sure that we showed who we are in the matches. And I was always put with big matches. Like my biggest match for him was probably with Wes Nabuznik, where we showed, the crowd and everybody in WXW our strong style. But I also mixed it up with the guys. I won their cruiserweight championship.
Right.
So he saw no limits where it came to his females. If you wanted to mix it out with the guys and make it as real and realism as possible, then, he knew that I could mix it up with the guys pretty well. He knew that my mentality was, if you're going to hit me, I'm going to hit you 10 times harder, whether you're male or female. And he always told me that I should have been Samoan. He calls me one of those.
I laughed when I saw that quote that they had called you. Yeah, you scare me. You fight like a Samoan. I'm like, okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I always told him, I said it's because of Alpha that I got that like mean looking streak. It's because he just told me, you have to look mean. You have to be credible in the ring. Like if you're going to fight this style, you really have to put yourself in there. You really have to like make it real, and you have to look like that character that if you walk in that ring, there's going to be a fight happening. So I really took that to heart, I guess.
Well, and that's fantastic, because it's also something that translated quite a bit, and I, that has definitely defined who who you were? Like, even back then, we're saying, a lot of promotions had this one women's match on the card, but then, you started participating in these all women's events, all right? Way before any revolution happened, right? From WSU to Shine to Shimmer, of course. Shimmer is probably where most people got their first Mercedes Martinez experience, right? You were there at the very first Shimmer Volume 1. You fought Sarah Del Rey in an awesome 20-minute draw. And, I gotta ask, you're doing this amazing match, right? And especially if you listen to the commentary, you have Dave on commentary putting over the fact how hard you guys work, and Sarah working with Brian Danielson, and there's less than 100 people, excuse me. There's less than 100 people in the room, right? Did you ever feel like there was a place for all women's wrestling back then?
Yeah, I really did. Only because before Shimmer really started, there was other promotions that were, dabbling in that whole women's division and concept. NECW was one of them in Massachusetts for Sheldon Goldberg. He had the concept as well, where his Triple W, and it was just WSU, of course. PWU had a women's division. I'm trying to remember. There was others that kind of. Karaoke Pro, which was like a sister to Chikara at that time.
Okay.
That's where I wrestled Alexis Lurie, who's now known as Mickey James.
Yeah.
So there was these little promotions that would pop up, run a women's show, and we think that it would catch on, but maybe and then it didn't catch on. So everything popped up, and I was working, just making my name rounds. And then Shimmer was really just the one that spearheaded everything. I give credit to WSU because WSU was also on the rise as well in the tri-state area. I think Shimmer just had more of a budget or maybe that's just the girls were in that area for the, in Chicago area.
Yeah, sometimes it can just be a regional thing, right?
Yeah. So, Shimmer took off, WSU took off. So those were the two big promotions that I was working for when it came to, a women's division, not even a division, just a women's company.
Sure.
But Shimmer definitely was what spearheaded a lot of females' careers just because it was something new, and it pitted people that you would never think. I would never think to wrestle Sarah Del Rey.
Mm-hmm.
They when they put us together, it was kind of the concept of like the best of the West and the best of the East in our styles, because our styles are very, very similar. And I was like, all right, this is our first time ever meeting, our first time ever actually wrestling each other. I was like, let's go, let's just have it and give the crowd what they had never seen before. Sure. In women's wrestling, and that's what spearheaded this whole thing. Did I ever think that it was going to garner as much attention as it did, even as long as it's been? No. I look back at that match and I look at myself, I'm like, man, I'm just a baby. and how I am, it was 7 years in the business, and it would still, to this day, I look at that match and I'm like, man, just the things that I know now, what I could have translated to that match. Again, I don't think I would have changed anything, because that match really spearheaded my career.
Sure.
And spearheaded Shimmer and really gave the platform for other women's companies to pop up saying, yeah, you can do this. You just have to have the right marketing, the right wrestlers. And that time there was really no social media. I think it was like MySpace.
yeah, exactly. It was bare minimum.
Yeah, so they relied heavy on just making sure that whoever was in the audience, they had to put it over to the audience and the word of mouth. And, I had to make sure that for Shimmer to survive, for me to stay around, I had to make sure I put it over and be like, yeah, this is a company that I get to wrestle who's who, or somebody new. It didn't matter who you were. I just wanted to wrestle females. And I didn't get that chance being in the tri-state area, because you work the same females over and over and over again. But Shimmer gave us that platform where it was brand new girls I never even heard of. I never heard of a Daisy Hayes or a Lacey or a Rain. Like, these are girls I've never even heard of until pretty much Shimmer, or let me rephrase that, IWA Mid-South, when I started working in the Mid-South, with Volcano Girls. That was before Shimmer. Right. So it was there. It was just, we had, Dave came up with this concept and it worked up until this day. Like, been there from the beginning and going back in a week? 2
Yeah, that's
weeks.
exciting. Yeah, from when we're recording, yeah, you're going to be there like October 31st, right on Halloween, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Halloween. Yes, yes. I mean, what best way to make my return on Halloween?
Well, I remember one of your that one return you had in Shimmer, right? When you came back, you finally became champion. You hooked up with a couple of people, Shayna Baszler and Nicole Savoy. Still to this day, probably one of the most visually impressive trios, right? The trifecta. I think there's a lot of us, who were into wrestling at that moment who still see the three of you together and like, my God, look at these three absolute killers. How did it come together? The trifecta thing.
Oh man, you know what? I was just coming, I literally just came back to wrestling. I took a hiatus
Mm-hmm.
for about 2 years, and people thought I retired. But I never said I retired. I never mentioned anything. I just kind of just dropped from the face of the earth. And that was me for my mental health. I also had some injuries that I wanted to recoup,
Sure.
just recover from, and my own personal life. So I wanted to just take a break from everything. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I didn't know if it was going to be 2 years, 3 years, who knows?
Whatever
I
time it
just said I
took.
was just, yeah, I just said, you know what? I'm leaving wrestling. I need to focus on me. And that was before mental health became this big thing now. I
Sure.
just needed to just stop
Mm-hmm.
and live my life. And that's really what it was, and take care of my body and everything. So I did a tour in Australia. I was like for a friend of mine for NHPW/Indie Girls. I did the tour as a favor. I'm like, I'm not really wrestling ready, but I'll do this tour for you.
Okay.
And once I did that tour, that was it. It was like everyone was like, Mercedes is back. And I'm just like, not really, but okay. Uh, I can't pass up a trip to Australia here,
No,
I
of
took I
course.
took the trip.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
came
It's like
back.
it's a work vacation, right? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. It's a work vacation. I get to hang around with kangaroos and stuff. So I'm not gonna
Did you
pass
did
that
you
up.
actually did you end up like yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. You get like there's this farm that you get to go to, side note, it's like you get to go to this farm and it's like an open farm and you get to touch the kangaroos, you get to feed them, you get to pet them. There's the wallabies there,
Oh, wow.
pigs,
Okay.
just everything. Yeah, it was an incredible time.
It's like
Like
so
it
it's
wasn't
like
my first time.
it's like these petting zoos that we have around here, except instead of having like goats, there's friggin' kangaroos, right? That's basically okay.
Yeah.
That's
There's a
awesome.
whole bunch of kangaroos and wallabies, and I was like, oh man. So I didn't care for the kangaroos. I wanted the wallabies because they're so small and so cute, and they
Yeah,
look
I
like
know.
kangaroos, but man, they were so cute. And so that was an experience in itself, and I was just like, all right, I can't pass that up. So long story short, like we come back from Australia, Dave's like, hey, you ready to come back to Shimmer? And I'm like, well, I'm not in the best shape right now because I don't know if I was coming back.
Sure.
He's like, well, he ran this program and just said, I want you to come back. And there's these two new girls, Nicole Savoy and Shayna Baszler, that I'm thinking of putting you with if you can help them out. And I'm like, yeah, man, you know what? That makes it easy for me coming back. I don't have to do all the work. I got two goons by my side. I'm not in like 100% wrestling shape because I
Sure.
just finished getting surgery. I just got cleared maybe two or 3 months before I went to Australia. I'm like, all right, well, I can bide my time, right? So I go in back to Shimmer, meet these two uh, funny, and these two girls that are funny. Like
Great.
Savoy is so sarcastic, and she's legit like a goofball, and then Shayna's really serious. And I'm just like, all right, I guess I'm the middle person of the mixture of two. And I go out there for Shimmer. No one knew I was there. Go in,
It
the
was a big
girls take
surprise, right?
out.
It was like from what I remember, it was like super hush hush. No one knew you were
Oh,
showing up.
yeah. No one knew I was coming back to wrestling, is what it was, because
Right.
I just did this one little tour that no one knew about unless you were there in Australia and saw results. And it kind of gave the buzz that maybe I'm coming back, but no one
Right.
knew in Shimmer, not even the wrestlers. I was so like no one knew I was there
That's awesome.
really because I try to keep myself really hidden from everybody. Unless you were there, no one knew what was going on. No one knew anything until I went through that curtain, and that was it. and took out Madison Eagles, won my first Shimmer title, and here's my stable. Like here's the group that I'm in, and we're gonna tear shit up. Like that's how it is.
And how did it work then? Working with Nicole and Shayna, did you how was the chemistry in the group?
Oh, the chemistry was great. Like Savoy is, so I think when she started, she was very serious and stuff, and then she ended up getting injured, obviously. Through the
Hmm.
trifecta, she ended up tearing her ACL, I believe. So my focus was, I know we have to do this trifecta. I know you're injured and stuff. And the dynamic for us was more or less Savoy was the mouthpiece. I can speak all I want. I'm more of a threat, and Shayna is like the enforcer.
Yeah,
If you look at Shayna, she looks like she's gonna kill
yeah,
somebody,
yeah. She's the
no
heater. Yeah,
matter what.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the dynamic. But on a personal note, like all of us really got along. We fed off of each other. It was just we're goofballs in the back, but when the camera is on and we go over that curtain, it changes. It's just like we're badasses now, and just it's the dynamic as the months went along. It was Savoy not being able to speak in front of a camera very well for promo shots or anything like that. It
Right,
was more like just be yourself, Savoy. Like the way you are with me and be your sarcastic, funny self. That's how you have to be out there because that's what people are going to feed off of.
right.
And if we became this big heel, like people hated us, to people loving us by like the end of our run before Shayna got hired and
Hmm.
left us. She, it was, I say she leaves us. I tell that me and Savoy tell her all the time, like you left us to the wolves. Thanks. We appreciate it. You left trifecta, something so great. You left us. Um,
You left a sure thing, Shayna. What are you doing?
yeah, yeah, gosh, man, trifecta was great. Now we have to find a new person.
And all of that.
How we're gonna keep this up. But it was a really fun stable and it was a really fun trio. Like I
Yes.
couldn't have asked for a better return to Shimmer than with those two. Our chemistry was so great, dynamics was great. It was shenanigans outside of the ring, inside of the ring. The crowd, we fed off the crowd. The crowd hated to love us.
Yes.
It was like they wanted us to kill people, but they wanted to boo us at the same time. It was just all in fun, and I couldn't have asked for like two better people to do it with. I really couldn't. Like that was so great, so much fun. I wish I could have continued, but everyone has to break up at some point and go to better opportunities, right?
Well, let's talk about your opportunity then. When you eventually got with WWE, you did the two Mae Young Classics. They sort of hung around. You hung around a little bit, doing some NXT shows. They finally pulled the trigger on you in 2020. They had you report to the PC. And then, well, look, I'm going to ask you straight up. How did they pitch the Retribution idea to you?
So to be honest, the retribution pitch was not pitched to me.
Okay. All right. Well, then,
If
how
we
did
want,
that come together then, Mercedes?
well, if we want to get real, because I'm a straight shooter, always have been, and I don't like to, go beat around the bush here.
Let's do it.
It was a concept of maybe they wanted me on this part of Retribution. It was, how everyone was kind of going in. They had all the extras, when there was a big mob of everyone under hoods,
Mm-hmm.
that whole big thing.
Mm-hmm.
When they finally were trying to figure out the core group, I was still fresh off the storyline with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah. Yes.
We just came off the cage match, and I said I can't do anything with Retribution because I don't know anything about it. I don't know what the concept is. I want more information. Was my deal. I wanted to make sure that if I was going to be part of this stable,
Sure.
that I want to make sure morally, for me and mentally, that this is something that I want to be behind. Is it going to affect me in my career? Is this going to affect my legacy? Is it going to affect my personal life morally?
Kind of
Um,
sounds kind of sounds like if Alpha is in the back of your head talking to you there.
yeah, yeah. It was just, man, you just made it to WWE. Like, this is your opportunity to be on the main roster. But is it the right opportunity to be on the main roster? Was the
Sure.
question that was in the back of my head. It was like a lot of people say, take it, take it, take it. I really spoke to so many people people on this and advice and suggestions just to try to figure out where I can go. So um, it was kind of a decision that I made right on the spot because I felt it in my heart that it had to be made right then and there. So when they revealed us on Retribution,
Mm-hmm.
that first time they revealed us on camera on Raw, where Mia cut her promo, that was pretty much my last day. It was pretty much like, I can't do this. They wanted to change names, which is fine. You can change your name, but I wanted to. My thing was communication.
Okay.
Communication was a big thing for me, where they didn't communicate anything with me. They didn't communicate what the group was about. They didn't communicate the name changes till we were revealed.
Okay.
And yeah, the gear, the masks, everything was just communication. I'm a big communication person where I want to be prepared for my job. I
So
want to know what's going on.
so
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 the decision
basically
was made for me.
so basically they brought you up. They said, "Yeah, well, you'll be a part of this group," but they never gave you the finer details. Not even the gear, not even the fact that you'd be wearing masks and stuff like that.
Yeah, we knew we were going to wear masks, but I thought it was more for entrance or for just the aesthetic,
Sure.
just because that's part of that, and that's fine because I wear a face mask in my entrance,
Mm-hmm.
which is perfectly fine. I believe that the face mask, maybe we should have had some input in it. I was like, maybe, here's my face mask. I have two different face masks. Maybe we can make something similar to these two, but for this group.
Mm-hmm.
I tried really hard, but I can't wrestle in this mask. And that's another issue, was that I can't wrestle in a mask. I have asthma. It's hard for me to breathe in the first place without a mask.
Sure.
How am I going to wrestle in a mask? And we're still in a pandemic. For me to train or be in a gym or anything like that, I have to wear a mask, and it's so hard for me to do that. I built my own home gym for that reason. Because I can't breathe. I have to have an inhaler. So that was a safety issue for me.
Mm.
When something doesn't feel right, regardless of, maybe you can be on the main roster, you can make all this money and stuff. At the end of the day, I just didn't feel it in my heart. It really came down to that. It really just didn't feel like I should be a part of this group. And people think that it's probably the wrong decision, but for me, it was the right decision right
Sure.
then and there for me. Maybe they could have gotten somebody else, but for me and for the 20 years that I put in this business, I didn't want my WWE career to be valued as part of a group, and a name change,
Mm-hmm.
and everything changed from what people know me as.
Sure.
I built my legacy on my own, and for me, I was like, I don't have a long shelf life at 40 years old. I don't know how long I'm going to be a part of this business, especially with WWE. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if they're going to keep me around long. I don't know anything. Nothing's guaranteed in life. So do I want my legacy, my WWE stamp, to be part of Retribution, or do I want my stamp to be known as Mercedes, that people know and love, and that I'm the badass? And that's really what it came down to. It was, I need to be known as Mercedes. That's what they grabbed me as. That is where we
Sure.
got my contract from, is Mercedes. That is what I want to leave as when it came to WWE. So we talked. Everyone was on the same page. They understood where I was coming from. There was no heat or anything. It was like,
Okay.
you know what, you're correct. Maybe Mercedes is better off as a singles, and they understood my concerns with the mask, and they understood everything.
Good.
It wasn't
Okay.
like, I'm just gonna just drop this. It was a mutual talk. Everyone was on the same page. Within a couple of days after that, they let me know, yes, we agree. We're going to send you back to NXT. And I was like, thank you so much. If there's another opportunity on Raw or SmackDown for the main roster, as you want me to be a part of,
Sure. Of
as
course.
Mercedes, that was my thing, then I'm more willing to do whatever you want. I will be a team player, but I also morally and in my heart, I have to also be mindful of what I built my career on, and that's being true to oneself. So that's what I did. I was true to myself and I stuck to my guns. Would it have cost me the main roster run? Probably. But what people don't realize, for me, and this is just me on my own personal take, and people can say what they want, but I really don't care. um, it really comes down to what I want to do and
Sure.
what I worked 20 years for. And that's for me to be me, Mercedes, this no nonsense, badass persona in the ring. And that is where my WWE career is going to end, has still Mercedes Martinez, the no nonsense, badass persona that everyone is going to love. And that's how that's how we left it. And, people think that I should have stayed with them, that it was the end of my career. No, it wasn't the end of my career. There's other obstacles that came to play for me to be out of WWE, but that definitely was not one of them.
Well, I mean, it's all to your credit, actually. So, yeah, because you said it at the very start of the interview. That was what you wanted. That was what was important to you, sticking to your beliefs, your morals, being true to yourself, and it just, I mean, it's putting your money where your mouth is, essentially. So there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not everyone can do that.
No.
Not everyone is in a position to do that. When you're early in your career and you get a WWE contract, you're gonna be the team player. And I am a team player. I'm a very, I'm all about team and supporting everyone and rising to the occasion. If you need me, I'm here. But at the same time, I also have to think of how many years I put in this business and how do I want to leave my legacy when I'm done
Sure.
wrestling. And it's not, and there's no money in the world that's going to change my mind. I could have made money. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with when I lay my head at night, that I do the right decision. Is my conscience clear? Can I look myself in the mirror and be like, yeah, you made the right decision? Of course. I don't regret it one bit, not one bit at all, because I know what I'm true to, and I am true to what I've always stuck to, and that's women's wrestling, and that's me making the name on my own, doing my legacy. I got this contract. I signed it. You wanted me for a reason. Why change me all of a sudden? And that was my big thing. So
Well, there you
it is
go.
what it is right now.
No, well, no, but I completely understand it, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Here's another thing that pops into a lot of wrestling fans' minds. Recently, as far as recent events happen, you were the Joker in the AEW Casino Battle Royal, right? And All Out
Yes.
2019.
Yes,
Look again.
yes.
You've been straight with me. I'll be straight with you. Why? How come you didn't end up working for AEW?
There was no contract offer.
Really?
Yes, I'm not. I mean, you want to straight shoot, we can straight shoot. We know people think there was, but there wasn't. We were in talks.
Mm-hmm.
I just think WWE, when they gave me the contract, they let me still do AEW. They gave me the contract right after they offered the contract right after I did, after I was revealed as the Joker.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. As soon as I did that, it was maybe 2 weeks afterwards, WWE contacted me. And I was just in a position to be like, I'm not sure yet. I have AEW Dark to do. I'm still with them. They're like, that's fine. You can go ahead and do it and just let us know. The offer would be there, but it won't last very long. And I'm like, okay, just let me figure out some things. I had my son, and at that time, it was just a lot of things going on personally. And I just
Sure.
wanted to make sure that everything was intact. I talked to Cody and talked to Brandy, and it was more or less, when you guys are ready for me, I'm here, but I won't be there for long.
Okay.
Um, I believe Amazing Kong was at that time helping with talent,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked, and I told her that WWE is knocking on my door. So if there's an offer to be made, it has to be done now, because if this is the only offer that's on the table, me being close to 40, I need to take something, because this is where my legacy has to end at some point.
Sure.
And after that, it was just, there was nothing. So I took the contract with WWE, negotiated on what we needed to do, and I was very happy with what they offered, and we are both happy on each side, and I signed. And I was still obligated. They let me fulfill all my obligations to the end of the year,
Okay.
when I sign, and that way I can report in January.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think if AEW probably offered something, who knows? I really don't know. I think the ball was in their court, because I did let them know that whenever they were ready for me, just contact me. They had my contact info. We
Sure.
talked. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what could have
Okay.
came from me. I think I would have been a good fit, but life has a way of bringing you where you need to be at that moment. And I think WWE saw something in me right then and there, and
Mm-hmm.
they offered me the contract. We worked it out, and I went with them for to keep my career going. And do I regret it? No, nope, not at all.
Yeah, there you go. If it still feels like the good decision, then it probably was. Um,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
and I mean, look, since you've been you've returned to free agency, let's put it that way. You've hit the ground running. Like you're talking about, oh, I'm in my 40s, I don't know how long I have here, but look at you. No, but honestly, look at you go. You're in Impact, GCW, Hybrid, Squared Circle Wrestling. You're going back to Shimmer in a couple of weeks. You've challenged Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts title. You fought Ali Catch at GCW, Holodead, Thunder Rosa. Like, all this cross promotion, and all these forbidden doors, right? That's the popular term these days, being open.
I guess, yeah.
It seems like it's an exciting time to be on the indies. Am I right?
Oh, it is a amazing time. Like you know what? I didn't know what was going to happen
Sure.
when I was released. I really didn't. I was in shambles for like a week. I was
Okay.
like, you know what? Let me grieve this process because it's basically what it is, right? You're
Sure.
grieving your unemployment. So I grieved it for like a week. I was like, what am I going to do? Am I still going to wrestle or should I just go back to just living a normal life before WWE,
Mm-hmm.
working the jobs and getting my pension and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? Let me ride this out because I really still have a lot left in me. And not just for wrestling, but just to help the independent girls and give them matches that, they probably won't get anywhere else. And
Sure.
that was my mentality was, you know what? I'm going to show them that I can still go, that I still can perform and put banger matches out there that people want to see, the matchups that they want to see. And after that, that was it. It was like, everyone knew that any company that hit me up was like, when is your non-complete cause over? And I said it's 30 days. So let's hit this hard. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's get everything that we can get. Keep me busy. Let's have these matches. Let's put some bangers out there. Let's pack the house. Let's do what we have to do to keep Mercedes on the independence and work everywhere. I'm not opposed to working anywhere. Just give me anybody and everybody.
There you go.
If I haven't worked you, I want to work you. That's basically how it comes down to. Like, it doesn't matter where I'm at, whether it's Impact, GCW, doesn't matter where I'm at. Just bring me somewhere, give me a female wrestler or a guy wrestler, doesn't matter. Just give me a wrestler and I will wrestle them and I will give you 250% of what I have in the tank. I will give you my absolutely best to make sure that this match is what people want to see. And that's how it's been since, for the last month to 2 months is just, I just been hitting and running between the
Yeah.
conventions and the matches. And I'm just like, man, I was like 3 matches in a row was it, when I did hybrid and it was PPW, I believe, and then GCW. That was 3 big matches in a row. My
Mm-hmm.
body was screaming at me, but I still delivered. I can recuperate in the middle of the week.
There you go. Exactly. During those days off. And I mean, hot damn. I mean, it's exciting. I think it's exciting. And I think it's great to have you back out there, and because of your experience. And that's, you said it yourself, being able to work with the younger talent, the women who are out there right now. And look, as we said, you've been around the block. You've wrestled, pretty much everywhere that has that had an opening, that had places for you to wrestle. You often hear, that women have always had to fight tooth and nail, right, to get everything they have in the business. Whereas, maybe with the guys, it's a little simpler, to get to wherever the guys were. It's always been a struggle. Do you feel that that's true in your experience? And most importantly, do you feel like it's still the same or is it getting better?
In my experience, yes. I mean, if you look at how long I've been in the business, of course, it was rough in the beginning trying to get just work and you had to pay your dues and it was rougher for the females because everyone sees us as divas or
Right.
if you want a straight shoot they saw us as sex objects, as a sex attraction. It's the boobs
Mm,
and all of that, and
sure.
that's basically what female wrestling was when I first started. I wanted to be the different. I wanted to break that mood, and I wanted to be the different wrestler that no one saw. And for me to do that, I had to work 10 times harder than
Mm,
everybody. And the opportunities did not come to me easily compared to other females. And it has nothing to do, like, I don't knock anybody who has to do what they have to do. I really don't. You do what you have to do your career.
right.
If you can wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and you're fine with it, great for you. It's not gonna change there's no judgment on me
Sure.
at all whatsoever. If you're a great person and you got through your career for whatever way, if you want to do sex sells, and that's fine. I really don't care what you do. Make your money, honey. Like, I really don't.
Sure.
Make your money, honey. Do what you have to do. When we wrestle, I'm going to do my best to make sure, our matches are really good, and that's my job. But it was really, really hard for me and wrestlers like me to get a fair share in wrestling. It really was. The niche for women's wrestling back then was fans did not want to see women wrestlers like wrestling.
Sure, sure.
They
Well, I
wanted
mean,
to see.
when you saw the complete opposite on television, right? Like that's when on national television, the product that's being introduced to you as to what women's wrestling is, which is, evening gown matches and, stuff like that. Well, then that's, oh, well, this is what women's wrestling is. That's what you kind of expect. I'm not trying to justify it, but,
No, that's exactly what it was. So when you go on the independence level, the fans that, watch wrestling on TV, that's what they want to see is what was given on TV.
sure.
So, you have to find the balance sometimes. And I had to find the balance of, okay, sex appeal does sell. It does get you booked way more, and it's going to get you your name out there a lot faster than just being a straight up wrestler. There's few and far in between that can get away with being, China was a perfect example of being the muscular, and
Sure.
she had that different appeal.
Mm-hmm.
But that was few and far in between. That was so rare to find that at my level. It was so rare to get that. So me personally, it was finding the balance and learning the ropes and just figuring out where I can do things, where I cannot do things, but stay true to myself. It always goes back to that. Is this how I want my mom and my dad to see me as?
Yeah, sure, fair enough.
Mud, like
Sure,
rolling around in mud or something. Do I want them I want them to be proud, but I want to make myself proud. So if I have kids, I don't want them to, see this side of me. Like for me personally, like I said, everything is on a personal level. It has nothing to do with whatever anybody else did in their career. Hey, you do what you got to do. I don't knock it. I watch wrestling. I get it. I understand the business aspect of it. But it was hard. It was very hard. And I think now to this day, it is not as hard at all because we have women's divisions everywhere. And I think the focus is changing where I think the fans are now appreciating wrestlers like me who are still in this business, appreciating what we had to endure to get you the wrestling that you see now.
Yes.
Because if it wasn't for me going through all that bullshit and still staying true to myself, you wouldn't have wrestlers like me paving the way. You wouldn't have companies like Shimmer and WSU helping pave the way. And then I want to call it a revolution because we've been around for so long. Just no one gave those companies credit until it was shown on TV. You can't give a women's revolution credit for TV when you had wrestlers like me, wrestlers like Sarah Del Rey, wrestlers like Rain and Lacey, and all these female wrestlers who wanted to be known for the athleticism. You have to give way for those before you can give praise to the ones on TV. Give credit where credit is due. And that's where I see the problem with anything when everyone says women's revolution. No, you have to look way before the NXT, way before all of that. You have to go back because those female wrestlers would have never had the place to do athleticism or had never had a place to wrestle that style unless they found it somewhere else. And the way that they found it is by places like Shimmer, a place like WSU, a place like Shine. There's so many other companies, Triple W, like you have to look at these places because when you go back in history, all those wrestlers that were back there are on TV now.
Yeah, no, it's true.
They work for these companies first before they got to the revolution, on WWE. And you have to give credit where credit's due. And I'm glad that WWE is jumping that part. Impact always had women's wrestling. They always put them in the forefront. Always. They always had. Just no one gave them credit either. but
No,
they were one of the first ones to do it on TV.
Systematically, and yeah, absolutely. You know, and not only with the Knockouts Championship, with the tag division as well, and there's everyone is sort of, I feel like there's a good second win happening right now. You know, Ring of Honor also is committed to their women's division. You got MLW about a week ago. We're talking about how Cord Bauer was talking about how he'd like to have a women's wrestling league, like for MLW. Are we in a better place? Like overall, is how do you feel the future of women's wrestling is headed?
I think if people, and I say this with all my heart, like I really do think that if people can look at us as wrestlers, like take away the female wrestling, take away the male wrestling, just look at us as wrestlers, because we can mix it up with the men, and we still have a long way to go in everything. Where we're heading, I think it's going to be a very bright future, but we have to keep fighting. I really do. I think there are still gaps where it comes to female wrestling, and there's still gaps where it comes to the male side of everything as well.
Sure.
A big thing, and I speak to Mickey, and I know people, she's done interviews where it's ageism is a big deal, where you have to be the certain age to get the bookings and to be booked and get on TV and stuff like that. And it shouldn't be like that, because when you look at the males, it don't matter what your age is. If you're good, you're good.
No, that's it.
No, but when it comes to females, it's like, well, you're at this age, you're not gonna. Why is that such a factor? If we can go, we can go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter for the males, right? So why should it matter for the females? And that's where it breaks down. And then not just that, it's everything around. It's the sex appeal. Do you have sex appeal? It goes to your social media, how many followers you have. Well, if you have this many followers, it doesn't matter if you're a great wrestler or not. You have 200,000 more followers, let's say, than Mercedes. We're going to hire you.
Right. No, I see. I definitely understand.
It's just I think we still have a long way to go, because it's unfortunately I think we need more females in power of position.
Yeah.
We need more females to be in that position of power to help break down those barriers. We need people like a Gail Kim. We need people like a Mickey James, me, myself included. If I can get into these companies and just speak my mind and she's like, yo, listen, you're doing this wrong. Like, I wish I had more power. All I have is my voice, and all I have is me helping the younger generation and these new girls to see things my way and what I had to go through for them to even have these opportunities.
Sure.
That even if I don't get them, I'm glad that they're getting them, because you know what? I'm still here. I'm living through this generation. I lived through all these. I lived through everything, and I don't want to see them go backwards. I don't want them to go through what I went through at all whatsoever. And I'm going to be a part of their success, and I'm hoping to be here for a very long time and see that rise. But I think we just need more women in power to change the minds of of whoever's in charge of things and see things in a different light. If you can wrestle. There's so many genres of wrestling. There's so many females out there that can give the audience something different. My thing that I see on TV now is Piper Niven or Doudrop.
Yes.
She's a phenomenal wrestler.
Oh, she's fantastic. I love Viper.
She is fantastic.
She really is.
And then I'm glad to see her on TV, and she's putting her up there. She's doing what she has to do to stay on TV, right? Yep. That's how I look at it. She's enjoying, as long as she's enjoying it and stuff, it's fine. I just think they should have kept her as Piper, and I get it.
Yeah.
Name changes, characters, it's part of the business. I get it. And she's one of those that has a different appeal. Yes. Everyone has something for the fans. She has something that she's given to the fans. That's something different. That's where she is. Everyone has something. And if they can just look beyond looks or look at sex appeal and just look at the wrestlers, everyone's got something. They stick to a cookie cutter. Everyone looks to a cookie cutter, and not just WWE, just every business.
Everybody, yeah.
Every company, independents, national level, overseas, it doesn't matter.
Variety's good.
A lot of, Yeah, variety is good. You have to have the variety because people are going to gravitate towards something. It's
Hmm.
like if you're sitting in a crowd, not everyone's the same. I'm not going to like what you like. So what I see on wrestling, you may not like, and what you see in wrestling, I may not like, but we like the product. There's got to be something for everybody. You got to give them something. And I think we still have a long way to go. And I think it starts pretty much by putting female in those power positions so we can change the
Sure.
landscape and change it a little bit more. And there's just so many gaps, whether it's the equality of the wrestling, the time frames
The time allotted. Yeah.
of
Sure.
yeah, yeah, I think that's a big issue. They think we can't deliver, but we can. The ageism, our age should never play a factor. If you can go and you can wrestle and you're not injured, you're fine. Just go out there and do your job.
Yeah.
The pay. I know there's issues with the
Uh-huh.
pay.
Hmm.
So it's almost like it's a workforce. Like it's almost like you're working in corporate. It is. I dealt with it in corporate, when I worked in corporate retail. I know how it goes.
You just don't have a generalized HR department for everyone to go air their grievances to. You sort of have to try
Yeah,
and work the
yeah.
changes from within. And I can understand that it's definitely difficult. And the ageism thing is something that hadn't really dawned on me until you spoke about it, because that's the thing. Like these days, the discourse around men wrestling, you've got the top guys in WWE. They're all a lot of them are over their 40s or in their late 30s, and they're still going and delivering. But we don't have. I don't think that translates as you said. I don't think it translates as easily when it comes to the women, where we're like, what? Shayna Baszler's 40? What? It's like, and everyone's like, what? She doesn't have that much left in the tank. Whereas no one is saying that about AJ Styles, for instance.
Exactly. See, exactly. Like, why should age be a factor? If you can wrestle and you still can go and and your body's still in good shape and,
Sure.
and still working, it shouldn't matter what your age is. You should be happy that at 40 years old, freaking Shayna's kicking ass still. Like, how many 40-year-olds on the street can do that?
Listen, hey, oi,
Like,
I know I can't. I can tell you that much.
but it's a big deal. Like, and I just see it. I'm like, man, it shouldn't matter. If you can go, you can go. If you have the appeal and the crowd loves you or hates you, and you're bringing in the crowds and you're bringing in the money, and just man, it shouldn't matter.
It
It
shouldn't
really
matter.
shouldn't. Like, yeah, I'm 40 years old and turning 41. But I still can go with the best of them and putting out banger matches, and my
Hmm.
body feels great as long as you take care of your body because this is your job.
Yeah.
If this is your job, you treat it as a job. You fuel your body, you work out, you do what you have to do to make sure longevity. You take care of yourself. And as long as you can do that, then you can still go. And when you can't go anymore, your body will tell you.
There you
But
go.
no company should tell you cannot go because of your age.
Sure. I
And
agree with
that's the big gap. Yeah, that's the big gap, one of the big gaps. But we can talk about this forever.
that. Here's a little behind the scenes thing for everyone listening right now. Just as before we started recording, I told Mercedes, I said, look, we're going to start the interview, but I promise I'm not going to keep you an hour. We're 50 plus minutes into this right now.
Oh man.
So
Look at
I've got to hold my promise and not keep her here for another hour.
We're gonna have to do another interview. Is pretty much what is gonna happen.
Hey,
isn't
you
it?
know what? If you're okay with this, we can talk about again in the new year. It would be my pleasure to have you back. Look, just before we go, you have let's say 2022 happens. Well, it will happen, but 2022 happens, and you have the opportunity to wrestle one person, regardless of the promotion, regardless of politics or who they're, one person across the entire landscape of wrestling. Who would that person be?
Oh man, can I do an honorable mention as well?
Okay, let's do an honorable mention.
Okay, because there's two.
Okay,
That's why.
fair enough.
So I say this in many interviews, and that's why I say there has to be two because it's hard for me to choose. But if it was now, it would be Manomi Toyota.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yes.
and Natty Neidhart.
And Natty, have you ever fought
Yes.
either of them?
No, no. I've been
Not
with
even
Natty.
Minami? Because you've wrestled in Japan,
No.
right? Have you been to Japan?
I have. I've been to
Right.
Japan twice, but I wrestled and I didn't get to. So my tours in Japan were very short.
Okay.
So I was brought in for special occasions in one
Okay.
match style, and that was it.
Okay.
So I wish, but I want that match. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, no, someone has to make that. Look, someone can make this happen, right? If we can have Minoru Suzuki go around the United States right now, we can definitely bring
Exactly.
over Minami to do the exact same thing and just beat people up.
Exactly.
I think so.
Exactly. It's doable and it's gonna happen. I want it to happen, and I'm sure it will. Someone's gonna make it happen. Someone's gonna make my dreams come true, right?
Some look, we're all going to manifest it as much as we can, Mercedes. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. This was a big deal for me. I'm a big fan, and I'm really glad that we had this opportunity to chat. Just before we wrap up, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you on social media and make sure they don't miss a thing related to your upcoming adventures? How about that?
Yes, yes, of course. We got to plug the social media stuff,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
Uh, which I don't like, but it is what it is. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Real M Martinez. They are both verified, so they don't have the blue check. Just know that those are fake things, but they're both verified. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm still under my old moniker, the Latina Sensation, Mercedes Martinez. It is linked to my Instagram as well. And anybody who needs to book me or anything like that, you can reach me at Mercedes Martinez 19 at yahoo.com. It is strictly for bookings as well as some fan interaction, but it's hard for me to get to my emails, but I like to throw it out there as best as I can. And that's about it. That's all I got, guys. Sorry.
She
Hold
apologized.
on, let me think.
She
I apologize because I get so busy right now. So I'm sorry if I don't answer emails really fast or answer like DMs, but everything's so private, is what it is. And I'm a very private person. But you can also catch my Big Cartel where I just started. I'll add some new products on there, but you can catch me if you want some merchandise, Mercedes Martinez bigcartel.com. You can pretty much catch all my merch there. I always plug it. Just so, I try to put some new things up there. You can get some t-shirts, some 8x10, some vintage gear back from my WSU days, early Shimmer days, that I'm putting out there. Yeah. So I think that's about it. I think I did that great, right?
I'm giving you an A+ on that because you added the merch. That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
It's all new for me. It's all new for me again.
Well, see, you're keeping up with the times, and that's fantastic. And yeah, and we can only hope that that everything continues, that you continue to be very busy, and that you continue to have difficulty responding to DMs and the like because you're so busy. I think that's what we prefer. That's what we want for you, Mercedes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so very much once again for joining me. An esteemed pleasure.
No, thank you for having me. It was very fun, very enjoyable. We'll have to get together again and have another interview so we can catch up.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for listening and watching today. You know the drill, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, and I'll see you next time.